It's time for the Engaged Club, the podcast for club managers and operators that strive to create loyal and connected members, guests, and customers. Here are the two guys with the club management and digital marketing advice you need to realize your club's potential. Jim Hope and Roger Kincaid.
Welcome to another episode of the Engaged Club podcast. I'm Roger Kincaid, the marketing guy from Off Course Golf, and you can see us online at offcourse.golf.
I'm Jim Hope, and I'm the GM of the Derrick Golf and Winter Club. Hello, Roger Kincaid. How are you?
Jim Hope, I'm pumped because you're rolling out the 12 rules of club management here, and this is rules 5 and 6 today. And I just want to dive right in. So what's rule number 5?
Rule number 5 is bring it every day or go home.
I like this.
And rule number 6 is don't take it personally. So rule number 5 is one that's a lot of fun for me because, not everybody wakes up every morning, 100% of their game on their game, ready to, kind of bat 600 and have 10 hours of just solid energy. But you need to, right? You need to. It's interesting. You could talk about, well, I didn't have it today, but, for me, with my members and with the team that I work with, who want me to have it every day and who deserve for me to have it every day, I got to be able to bring it. And it's interesting. They can tell when you're faking it, like if you're faking it, they know right away. I mean, you must have seen that in your business as well, right?
Oh, I did. And I had a previous life as a broadcaster, but there's a story that I heard really, really early on in my broadcasting career. And it was about Jack Nicholson, right? The famous actor. And he said, and this just blew me away when I heard him talking about this. He said, meeting me is one of the greatest experiences in a lot of people's lives. And then he goes on, right? Now listen to what he meant by that, okay? Because what he said was that people talk about the time they met famous people. And so he's very, very keenly aware of when someone meets him that they're expecting the guy that they see in the movies, right? And the actor that they like.
Sure.
And, and they're expecting the Jack treatment. And so for him to blow them off or for him to, just be surly or a jerk or not really deliver, not bring it would be a terrible disservice to what he's been trying to do his whole time, which is to, please his audience, to deliver great roles and to make people love what he does and to excel in his business, which is acting. So he says, when people meet me, it's one of the greatest moments of their life. And it is because he makes it that way. And so he's, you either bring it or you just stay home. So when he's out and about and people say, hey, Jack, loved you in The Shining or Good as It Gets or whatever the case may be, he gives them what they expect. And I think that that's the same for all of us in whatever capacity that we serve. I mean, I'm not, I obviously don't have the wisdom that you do as a club manager, but I got to think that there are people that, you're at that club 5 days a week. Maybe they're at the club 1 or 2 days a week. And if they're always there when you're having a crappy day, you're not really giving them the club experience that they deserve. So you got to bring it.
Yeah. I mean, to Jack's point is that if he was going to a restaurant tonight and didn't have it, he'd stay home because he knows he's going to have somebody come up to him and say, hey, Jack, loved you in that movie, right? To your point was he would just stay home then because he knows that he's not going to let somebody have the best experience of their life in meeting him. And the same thing applies for us. But if I feel like I have an obligation to walk through the dining room every night at 5 o'clock, and I just had a really bad couple of hours from 3 to 5, but I look at my watch and it says 5 o'clock, I've got to walk through the dining room. And I'm not in a great mood, and I got my shirt's half rolled up and my tie's undone, and I got a coffee stain in the front, of my jacket because I've been working all day. And the members know that I'm mailing it in, and they haven't been at the club for 2 months and they got some guests and they want to introduce you to their guests, and you call them over and you're in a surly mood. That isn't doing anybody any good. That you're disappointing a member who's come to their club to show it off to their guests, or even if they don't even have guests, if they're just there by themselves, and you come in and you treat them that way. And that's just unfair. People don't deserve that. So either stay in your office or go home. But right. I had a great club manager friend of mine, John Fisher, who I would talk to Fish, and it'd be 11 o'clock in the morning, and he's sitting around his island at home, and they say, Fish, it's Tuesday. What are you doing, man? Aren't you going to the club? And he says, yeah, I'm going in about 2. He said, by 2, I'm going to be ready to give it everything that I've got for the rest of the day. But he wasn't at 10 o'clock. So he didn't go in and fake it. He didn't go in and mail it into these guys because he knew that when he walked through the doors of that club, both his team and his members were expecting to see him at 100%. And I think that's what your people deserve. And if they don't get it, they know they're going to be shortchanged that day. And you do that 2 or 3 times, and I think you start to lose your credibility with your team as well, because you're sitting there preaching to them about how they need to interact and act with the members, yet you're not doing that with them, and then they see you not doing it with the members as well. So it's a little hypocritical in what you're saying. So I think it's really important that you bring that energy and passion every single day.
Yeah. I keep thinking about athletes, Jim, there's 2 kinds of athletes, right? There's the ones that like to sign autographs and the ones that hate it. And it's like that, I love the baseball player who makes sure that, he signs every autograph for every last kid until until they're all gone or whatever. And the thing is that there's 2 jobs, right? There's the one that someone gives you, and then there's the one that you give yourself. And when that athlete is signing all those autographs and really delivering that experience, it fills his heart. And so it's this sort of thing where it's like, if you've got it, like you said, if you check your watch and then you do this obligatory walk through the dining room, then, maybe you got to rethink your job just a little bit, right? Maybe you got to think about what it is that fills your heart, because there really should be nothing better than walking into your dining room, seeing people that are really enjoying the experience that you're providing for them, and going up to them and saying, hey, how are you doing? How is everything going out there?
And be sincere when you do it, right? Because as I say, they know if you're faking and they know if you're not sincere. We've talked about this on previous podcasts, that to succeed in our business, in the club business, at whatever role you have, is you need to have a server's heart. It needs to be ingrained as part of your nature, is the fact that you like to serve people. And you can't maybe do that every single day, right? Some days you just aren't quite on it and you just don't want to do it. Don't fake it. Just go home, stay in your office, go hide, go sit in your car, whatever it is you need to do. But don't go walk through the dining room, because you're not being sincere, and and the members and the staff are going to know that you're not, because they need to feed off of you. You need to realize that your people do feed off of you, and they come to expect it. And I think they also need it from you as well. So don't ever fake it, baby. Stay home if you're going to do that.
All right. Rule number 6.
Rule number 6 is don't take it personally. This, for me, is easier said than done, because as we just mentioned in rule number 5, these people who have a server's heart, which I know I have in the business, I know you have, Roger, and I know many great club managers, I think the best ones all do. It's hard not to take it personally. It's hard when somebody has a poor experience at the club in whatever area it is that they have it, that you don't take that personally, because you take it personally because of the fact that you feel like you haven't fulfilled that obligation, that promise that you made to them when they walk through the doors of the club. And even though it may not be you directly who sort of ruined or didn't fulfill their expectations, their promise for the night, at the end of the day, it lands on your desk, and I take it all very personally. I mean, I've called members on my way home. I've called the club and say, hey, how did that dinner go? They say, oh, well, Mrs. Smith wasn't very happy. I said, give me Mrs. Smith's number. And on my way home, I've called Mrs. Smith because I was just so disappointed that she wasn't happy. And I wanted to do anything I want, first off, for her to know how disappointed I was about that. And what can we do to try and fix this for her? And, then you get home and you realize that your wife says, hey, how was your day? And you go, oh man, let me just tell you what just happened. And you realize that I could have dealt with this tomorrow morning at 9:00. I didn't have to deal with it at 6:30 when I was driving home. I could have dealt with it next morning. So I say, don't take it personally. And I think caring is okay. Caring is what we do. It's what makes us such great in our job, but it is just a job. And I say that with a lot of trepidation, because I love this business, as you well know, and I look at this as more than this as a job. I think the great club managers look at this business as a calling more than a job. So when I say that, what I mean by that is that you don't have to fix everything immediately, and don't take it personally. It's not about you. You didn't do this to this person. This was just something that happened. Stuff happens, and you can deal with it the next day when you go into work. And often, which is interesting, is when the facts come out, when you hear the other side of a story, it's different than the first side that you've heard. That happens all the time in our business, that once you hear both sides of the story, it wasn't nearly as bad as what this person might be making it out to be, and how bad you may have felt for them because of what they've explained to you. And secondly, it may be nothing that you or your team did. This could have been that person that was just having a bad day, but they want someone responsible for that, and they're going to try and make you or the club responsible for it. So often, if you just wait and get the facts out, it's going to be different than what you thought it was. And the other is as well is that it often is just the way that person is, and you need to recognize that. I had a member at one of my previous clubs who sent his steak sandwich back every single time he ordered it, and all he ever did was order a steak sandwich. And his kids who were members of the club, his kids who were members of the club became good friends. And we used to joke about that. And so on a busy Friday night, we're slammed. The kitchen is just overrun, and he orders a steak sandwich, right? And he orders it medium rare. And this is so, and everybody in the kitchen knows. They see the name on the chit. You know, it's all hands on deck, right? The chef comes out of his office. We're all watching the steak. We're sticking a thermometer into the middle of it to make sure it's exactly 113 degrees. So by the time it gets to the table, it's 122. It's perfectly medium rare. So we're busy one night, and I'm running this. I'm a food runner that day because it's all hands on deck. So this order comes up, and I said, I'll take the steak. So I got the steak, and the balance of the table was a couple of servers have it all. And I put it right down in front of him. I just stand there with my hands crossed. And he looks at me, he says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm waiting for you to cut into it and send it back. and he looks up at me and he breaks out in this absolute laugh. His kids are sliding off their chair, right? They're laughing so hard because they just know what's going to happen. So he cuts it open and I said, can I have a look? Because he ordered it medium rare. And I looked and I said, that looks absolutely perfectly medium rare. How is it for you? And he goes, that's the best steak that I've ever had at the pub. And his kids are like grabbing onto their chair to try to get back up to sit down. And after that, he never sent his steak back afterwards. Right. But I would have gone home and said, how was dinner? They said, well, you know, Mr. McDonald, when the steak again was overdone, he was really disappointed. But, you know, at that point, it wasn't about how we cooked a steak. It was about, you know, just who he was. And once he got called out on it, it was completely different. So don't take it personally. Remember, it's just a job. You don't have to fix problems right away, and get both sides of the story.
Perfect. All right, Jim. So and let's go ahead and that's just such a good story, man. Let's go ahead and recap rule number 5 as well.
Rule number 5 was bring it every day or go home. Don't fake it because they know you are. And rule number 6 is don't take it personally. It's just a job.
All right, I'm going to go have a steak sandwich, and we're going to be back with another episode of the Engaged Club. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to share this with your friends and colleagues inside the club business. Until next time, thank you.
This has been the Engaged Club podcast with Jim Hope and Roger Kincaid. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. If you like what you heard, share it with your fellow club managers and operators. Until next time, thanks for listening.